advertised.
Yeah.
My SSD.
But it was
No.
You have the
I would
report?
not want to be on the place
That's not
the
what
way,
he thought about.
no way.
Oh, that's somebody left.
No.
a
Well,
message.
we
That
totally
was wind
forgot
or
last
something.
time.
That's
I'm sure you noticed.
Plastic,
Yeah,
somebody
Ben told me
put it
about
out the
that.
door and
It's
then
like,
came out
okay.
and
It's
that
all
window
over
and
my
slammed it, slapped it. I don't know, I just didn't find out about it. I was told about it, and I went out and looked at it, and it was like, the glass is so far that wind probably came up and took that.
Somewhere don't we
glass
have a
against it.
business license?
That's a good one, dude. Who's that by?
Well, should have.
It's kind of like a home business.
Yeah.
And we are going to sit in
But
there.
don't we have something?
Hey.
Health Oh, we're probably, we're about to have it.
Yeah, this is the malcontent roll.
The riffraff.
That's right.
Okay.
Hooligans? Did you say hooligans?
Let's, start this planning commission meeting for Wednesday, October 23rd, 2019. Pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Right. Roll call.
Janet here.
Lee Brayley's here.
Cynthia Brown in here. Lynn Jordan.
Force King here.
All right, so first item on the agenda involves this novella we have in front of us. So for Paul Israelson to discuss, I guess, his development idea.
Well, so, how long would you like me to take?
That's a loaded question.
I don't want to bore you.
I mean, brevity is the soul of wit.
Great.
Okay.
3.5 hours is.
I taught at the
You're not
university
breaking
for
the-
25 years, so I can expound or I can be short either way. So let me just give you a little background. We bought property out by the golf course, the old golf course. So we're out there all by ourselves. And I'll give you a little history of how we got there. It turns out that my youngest son got married about 2 years ago, and we went to lunch with his future in-laws, and it turns out that his father-in-law actually golfed out there while it was open and said it was amazing, it was great. We talked to the people who developed it and all the things that went on out there. But I grew up on a dairy farm. I'm from North Logan, Utah, and grew up on a dairy farm, taught at Utah State University for 25 years. I'm an electrical engineer, my background. About 3 or 4 years ago, I was talking with my kids, and we decided, we'd like to find some property that was a little bit warmer than it is in Logan. I love Logan, but and I love to ski, but I can't mountain bike in Logan in the winter. So we've been coming down here for 20 years to mountain bike, and we've biked all over these mesas, and it's been amazing. And we decided we wanted to find a place, so we looked around. We looked here, we looked in Panguitch, and we looked in Cedar City. Went up to Vail. We looked all around, and we happened upon the property we bought out here, and it was perfect. It was just what we were looking for. And our goal was to find a place where we could build a couple of homes, put in some gardens, put in an orchard, do a little farming, get some cows and horses, and just have a nice place where we can come and get warm in the winter and do the things we like to do. We have a family corporation that was formed to do that, plus we have 3 of my sons and 2 of my sons-in-law are in construction, so we also do some construction activities. You want to flip it, or
However you want to do it.
how about if I, does that work? Is that going to do
I
it?
think so.
Nope.
I don't know what you just did, but I probably
Nothing.
need to start the slides here.
Oh, there you go. Nothing works in demo mode.
Let's see, where is that at?
Oh, there you go. You were.
Was
you
I
were
in
on
it?
There you go. That's the
Okay.
second one. So the reason we wanted to come is we wanted to talk about a few of the things we want to do there and just get some feedback on the best way to proceed, what's going to work, what isn't going to work. We've met with the mayor and had some discussions. We've met with the manager of the water company and had some discussions. So I've got 7 kids. We wanted to have a place where we could have a family home, couple family homes, and do some things. And we also love the mountain bike, and we have a lot of contacts down here in the mountain biking community, and we wanted to see if there were ways that we could serve the mountain biking recreation community as well in a very low impact way, because what we don't want to do is do anything out there that destroys the reason we bought it in the first place, which is because it's beautiful and it's quiet and it's solitude, and we like that. Next. So, this is where our parcels are. This is that cinder hill out there where they've been pulling the cinder out on the BLM side. And so we have this piece here and this piece here. This one's about 26 acres, and I think that one's about 86. And the road that goes across comes right down through here and across the wash. And I was just out there a few minutes ago, and I see somebody put the wash back together again. Does anybody know who keeps rebuilding the road out there?
Probably the guy who runs cows out there.
Is he?
It's a guy on a 4-wheeler. I've seen him out there when there was a traffic accident, and I took off and went around there, so I had to run water samples
Yeah,
there.
they rebuilt
And he
that
was out there.
road.
He was out there building it actually at that time.
Oh, yeah, they put that road back together 3 or 4 times a year after it washes out, so.
It's a fun place to ride ATVs.
Oh, yeah, it is. And it's a fun, I went out there on my mountain bike and I rode those trails for the golf course,
Yeah.
the golf cart trails. It took me 1 hour and 15 minutes, and it was almost 12 miles riding
Yeah.
those trails.
It's fun.
It is. It's a great place. We love it. Next.
Yeah.
Yep. So we have water out there. So the well we're located on is right down here, just south of our property. We have a legal easement to pull a line across there and bring water and power up to our property. Next, just to give you an idea, the water rights are, we have 24 acre feet of water that's for irrigation use. There was 30 acre feet of water that was on another well over here that was collapsed, and so last year we went to the state and had those water rights transferred to the good well so that we could get water out of it. Next. And when we had the state do that, we basically set it up so we have the 24 acre feet for irrigation, the 30 acre feet, we use most of it for irrigation, but we've got enough for 4 residential units and then a number of livestock as well. Next. The well, I talked to the developer of the golf course, and they actually pumped that well continuously when they were doing the golf course. And he said it pumps really well. They pumped it at about 200 gallons per minute when they were test pumping. And they went back in and redid it about 5 years ago. They went in and cleaned it out and test pumped again at about 200 gallons per minute. The water sits down about 55 feet. So what we plan to do is go in and put a new well pump in and pull the water up onto our property as well. We've had discussions with the manager of the water organization here and talked about the kinds of things we need to do to get that set up. We've also talked to the fire marshal about what requirements we're going to have for water storage for fire protection out there, which is probably one of the more interesting things we have to do to make sure that we have fire protection. We need to put in a big enough tank to make sure we have enough water. Next. So there are 57 acre feet of water attached to the well. We own 54 acre feet. The other 3 acre feet are owned by Flat Creek Development, which is the Lowe's, who are one of the money people that were in putting in the golf course. And again, like I said, we have a deeded right to pull water across their property to bring our water in. Okay, next. Just hit the next one. So what we've talked about doing, here's the 26 acre piece right here, And then this is 10 acres of the 86 acre piece. The other piece we're just gonna use for farming and put some livestock on it and put in an orchard and some gardens. What we've talked about doing is putting in 2 homes along the top there. We've talked about putting in a small residence building. One thing we've talked about doing, which is one of the things we want to talk to the planning commission about, is the possibility of putting in maybe a small campground for serving the biking community. We're not interested in putting in a campground to serve people who just want to come and camp. There are lots of places for doing that. But there are a lot of people who come down here just to recreate, and they want to recreate, and all they want is a place to go spend the night and then get up the next day and recreate. And so it'd be very primitive, it would be very low impact for that kind of activity. We've also talked about, in the long run, and this is a little bit bigger development, but still a low-key one. One of my partners in this is an orthopedic surgeon, and one of my sons is a wilderness EMT. And both doctors and wilderness EMT, wilderness first responder types, have to have continuing education fairly constantly. And for the doctors who like to have continuing education, they like to go take their courses, but then they like to go out and be able to recreate half the day and go biking or go golfing or do different things. And so we've had discussions about putting in a continuing education center out there where we could teach some wilderness EMT, wilderness first responder, continuing education for doctors and medical professionals as well, because it's a nice area that's beautiful and lots of solitude, and there's lots of recreational activities they can do when we're not teaching the classes. Okay, next.
Those doctors are gonna camp?
Huh?
Those doctors are gonna camp?
No, the continuing education center would have some housing facilities in it.
Oh.
So there would be rooms and places. Actually, some doctors do like to camp, but when they're coming for this, they probably don't. So, yeah, go on to the next one, the home. So the home number 1, which would be the first one we were planning on doing, is we've been working with a company that does earth sheltered homes. And so we want to put in an earth sheltered home out there that can be kind of a show home for some of the technology that's been developed, and very cost efficient, very energy efficient. And if you want to click on to the next one, here are just a few pictures of what some of those representative homes look like that have been put together. Click next. Next. Go ahead and click the next one. The way they build these, click the next one. They go in and put in, you dig into the earth, they put in this metal structure, and then they put insulation cover on the inside, and then they shoot shotcrete on it to build the concrete shell. They pull the insulation out and put it on the outside, and then you backfill over it. You waterproof it and backfill over it. And here's kind of a representative home of what those might look like. You can do them in an unlimited number of configurations, but it's a very efficient way of building them. The second home would be more of a traditional southwestern style home. Here's just kind of a layout of what that would look like. And the next one, a picture of what the outside of that would look like. And we're just in the process of putting plans together on that one. Next, the residence building. This is the one, it would be essentially a 2-bedroom home with associated showers, restrooms, and storage to accommodate a small campground. And which would cater to outdoor adventures and also work with some of the local recreation companies in the area to do functions. The Over the Edge bike shop over in Hurricane, every year they put on a festival, and they're interested in having locations where they can come out and do activities during those as well. So we've talked to a number of the biking resources, and they're interested in having a place where they could come out and put on functions now and then, and again be very low impact. Next, this is a possible configuration of that. Again, it's essentially a 2-bedroom home with some group showers, bathroom areas, and then some storage areas. The downstairs would be pretty much all storage. for equipment and whatnot. Again, a possible picture of what that might look like. Again, we're putting plans together on those, but I think that's kind of what the structure would look like on that. Next, just click through those quick and we'll get down. The Continuing Education Center, click on to the next one. Again, I said the Continuing Education Center, and this is a longer term. This would be out a few years as we look into doing this. Again, ongoing educational credits for medical professionals and EMT types. Would contain lodging, kitchen services, and other facilities to support the education mission. Outdoor first responder, outdoor EMT, and other outdoor activities. Field work and outdoor recreation activities will be provided. So for the wilderness first responders, wilderness EMT courses, they have to have a fair amount of field work, and so having the large open area, having everything available makes it really nice for being able to do all their field work during that. And here's just some pictures of what that looked like. This would again be an earth sheltered building. Here's kind of some of the pictures of what those would look like. Next, there's a front and back. That one, that would be kind of what the facility would look like as well. Again, I think the time frame of what we'd like to do first is put in the first home, which would entail putting in the water system, getting the well in, pulling water and power up from the well, putting in a tank, getting infrastructure put together, bring in a road from that main road that comes down, put in road base so that it's good and solid to satisfy the fire marshal and the fire protection people. And then a second home, and then the possibility of looking at the residence building with a small primitive campground. So having said that, what are the issues that we're going to be looking at in order to do something out there as far as putting this together? I haven't seen the most recent zoning map for that area. What is it zoned as right now?
Open space.
Is it? I know that on the master plan, it was planned unit development on the master plan. Is that what it still is?
Correct. Yeah. Well, it's transitioning, but we don't know where that's gotten to, so. Yes, right now it's PD.
Okay.
PUD,
whatever. So in order to do the residences, what would we need to do from a zoning standpoint in order to put in a couple of homes out there?
I'm just wondering if, since it would eventually have a couple of homes and a primitive campground and a continuing ed, I'm just wondering if planned development is still a good zone for it. Because it kind of
seems to me you either have to do that or start doing some subdivisions because you can't have the home on the same lot as the continuing education center, I don't think, but.
So
unless it's a planned development,
maybe
they may have
that.
a development agreement to fix it up, however.
So that has more stringent rules on roads though, I think. But.
Yeah, well, I think we do want to go in and make sure we have a good road into there, both for our own needs, but also for fire protection. When we talked to the fire marshal, he was pretty adamant about the kinds of road base they need to make sure they can get their trucks in and out when it gets wet and take care of that. So.
Now, which road are you talking about coming down on? The one on the.
So the road we would access it from is the road that comes from the highway down past the Cinder Hill and around. And that does have good road.
That's where the trucks pull in and out.
Yeah, so when they built the golf course, they put in good road base on that road. And so what we would need to do is pull roads off of that into the homes and the buildings and make sure we have good road base on those.
So the road you're talking about would be on the
59.
I guess it'd be on the west.
Yeah, not Gould's, but where the trucks come out.
Yeah. So where the trucks turn and go into the pit, you just take a right and go down around the Cinder Hill towards where the golf course was.
How much traffic are you talking about for any one time? Of how many people would be there at once?
Well, I think for the homes, it's pretty minimal. I mean, it's just a couple families going in and out. For the primitive campground, again, I think we're only talking about maybe probably 10 people. We don't wanna build something out there that ruins the reason we bought the property in the first place. I mean, we wanna keep it quiet, we wanna keep it rural, we wanna keep it an experience that people wanna come in and camp in that kind of environment. So I think that would still be, just a matter of a handful of people on a daily basis. The continuing education center, again, would still be relatively small numbers of people because those classes are relatively small. They require pretty on-hands kind of education, meaning that at any given time, there's probably only maybe 10 or 12 people in any given class. So over a 3 or 4 day period, while they're there doing education, there might be 15 people. So it's still pretty low traffic. Certainly a lot less traffic than the trucks that are going into there.
So how often do you hold those classes? Is that like a monthly thing, or?
Probably one a month. And I think it would depend on which class and how big the classes are. Some of the classes would be a little smaller, meaning we'd hold them a little more often. Some of them would be a little bigger and they'd probably be monthly or a couple months.
Now, the turnoff into that road is quite dangerous. Have you made a contingency plan for that?
That's one of the things we want to discuss, is what the issues are around that. I think, again, the traffic would be fairly low, probably not a lot more. We probably wouldn't add a lot to the traffic that's already there.
I'm thinking for your own safety.
Coming from the west, it's not bad, because you can easily pull in and pull off the road as you're coming in, and there's a nice pull out. Coming the other direction, it's a little harder to get into there. And we may have to look at how we manage that.
Oh, UDOT's gonna have to be involved.
Like a traffic study.
Well, on the picture of the residence building, in the bottom, the big square, it says store, was that just short for storage and?
Yeah, pretty much. When we talked about putting in a campground, we did talk about the possibility of having a small store with just some necessities that people may want, but as we thought about it more, I don't think we want to do any retail kind of thing. That's kind of a headache we don't want to get into. So.
You did mention there, you might run a few cattle. We had a little issue with PD commercial having cattle on it, that kind of blindsided me. Are you planning on putting some cattle on the property or some type of animal?
If we do, we'll fence it. So when we come down in the summer, there are cattle running all over there.
But I think that's zone.
Well, the reason is I talked to a couple of people, and they said the reason the cattle are on there is because it's open range.
Yeah.
And basically the rule is if you don't want the cattle on your property, you have to fence them out, not fence them in. So I think, when we decided to, when I say cattle, I mean just a couple of cows and a few horses.
You're not gonna be raising beef?
Nope.
Okay.
Now, this is family kind of stuff. My one son has a bunch of goats we use for backpacking. And, they work great, they're amazing.
Yeah, I know when, hang on, Rich, I know when they were building that golf course, they did run into quite a few rattlesnakes out there.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
I find 4 or 5 a year at my house up in Lowell.
I don't believe in killing them.
Oh, I don't
catch
either.
them.
They're great.
Relocate them, but,
Yeah.
yeah. They don't bother you, they try to skirmish away from you.
They try and get away. In fact, I found one this summer under my garbage can, and I moved the garbage can, and he had just eaten, and he was so big he couldn't move. I had to get the shovel and actually pick him up and move him, because he couldn't slither.
You didn't need that cat anyway.
Hopefully he'd eaten the pack rat that's coming
Oh, I think
garbage.
it was a cat. One of your cats.
No, the cats actually kill the snakes. They're pretty good at it, but.
Do you want some cats?
I've got four. If my wife were here, she would say yes, but luckily she's not.
Yes, Rich Kopp, 1193 East Big Canyon. I know you had mentioned more bicycle activities. Bicycling on 59 is really highly not recommended.
No, I'm talking mountain biking.
Yes, but, all right, so it's no more from the down to the hill, people coming up from your facility back down.
No.
There's one function that they do every year.
Yeah, I know.
And it's amazing somebody hasn't died to this point.
Yeah.
So, and now and then you'll get 5, 6 people coming up, and it's rough. I
It
mean,
is.
The drivers have to go into the oncoming lane just to get around these guys sometimes.
Yeah,
So
and I
but
don't
that
like
would be
mountain biking.
concern.
I don't know why people want to ride bikes on the road,
I don't either.
but I love mountain biking.
Right.
Yeah, I wouldn't get on that. In fact, I went out and rode just before I came here, and I rode across that highway, and it took me 5 minutes to get across the highway. There were so many cars coming.
Right.
It's a busy place.
It is.
Can you tell us more about the discussion with the water company, the Big Plains Water?
So I talked to Harold.
To me.
I talked to Harold, actually, when we met with the mayor, we met with the mayor about 4 or 5 months ago, and he said, you know, you ought to talk to Harold and talk about banking your water shares with the city. He said that has some advantages because if you bank them with the city, it shows beneficial use if you're not using all your shares, which we probably won't in the beginning. So it helps us with the state because we have beneficial use with our shares. It also provides a resource for the city because we're not using all our water, and the city actually has the opportunity to use some as well. So we just had a brief discussion with Harold about the possibility of how we might go about that. He said he would look into it, but we haven't discussed it any further. But it is something we're interested in because, you know, in the beginning, we certainly won't use 54 acre-feet of water out there. A lot more water than we possibly can use in the short term, so.
I guess my question was, I think, the way I understand it, with a well that's not on your property, you have real problems bringing it to your property.
That's why we have a deeded access.
I understand you got that, but that doesn't solve some other problems, is my understanding. And Dale may know more than I know about that.
It doesn't solve the problem for as far as the district's concerns are.
Right.
Is that Paul and I have actually talked on the phone before also, is that we would contest that going across onto that property line, because that would be taking that well that's already on that piece of property and taking it somewhere else. And then, you know, we also have our policy of contesting anything like that happens in our basin. And the district's suggestion would be is for Paul to come to the board, and, you know, one of the options that would be nice would be for him just to kind of create a little island system out there, and then the district take that system over, so that it's monitored. With the numbers that he just came up with of potential people that he's gonna have on that property, he actually becomes a transient water system under state standards.
And we have had that discussion, and we understand the headaches around that, and that's why we would have an interest in.
But I would promote you to come to the board and for us to be able to sit down and have a conversation of what's gonna work best for both parties, because 200 gallons a minute unregulated, for me as a water guy, is scary, because you can pull almost 120 million gallons a year.
Yeah, well,
you chose, where you've only got the right for 17 million a year with your acre footage. So it's a concern for the district, which is the stewards of this basin, you know, to make sure that we're managing our water.
well, and we certainly wouldn't want to put a pump in there that would pump 200 gallons per minute for our uses. I mean, that would cost us way more than what we're interested in doing. So we would put something in that would be really manageable for what we need, but you're right. And I think we would like to have that discussion very much about doing that.
Yeah, if the well was on your property, that would change the whole calculus.
For the district, yes.
But since
His
it's not.
easements and all of that doesn't affect, whatever he's got personally, of course, is his personal easement for his right to run that line, but from the district's policy and procedures, that would be against what they are.
Well,
Now, we'd like to have that discussion, so, yeah, if you wanna let me know when would be a good time to to have that discussion.
Get you on the agenda, I think we're full for November, but you should come in maybe December, get on for the December meeting and open the door.
Let's do that. We've also broached the topic of buying the property, the well sits
Where the
on.
water well is.
And the problem is getting any kind of response from the Lowe's is really, really difficult. I think they're very, very soured on what happened back there. So they just don't even like to discuss it. But we have had a discussion and they're contemplating that and considering it. So that may be a good solution, is for us to buy the piece that sits on as well.
Is there, if you bought that, is there another piece between you?
There's a piece between us and them, and they own both.
Oh, okay. Well, so you might buy both?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it sounds to me this is very much an idea, it's infancy, and
Yeah,
there'll be
I
some
think-
stuff worked on and figuring out how to zone it, and then dealing with the water and.
I think the homes are a more immediate thing we'd like to start doing. And we understand that even to put the homes in, we have to solve the water
Yeah.
issue, the power issue, and the road issue. So I think those are the things we'd like to start discussing with a vision towards how do we make sure we put in enough infrastructure to do the longer term things we want to do as well. But I think
If
we'd
everything
like.
got all figured out, I mean, it sounds like it'd be a nice
Yeah.
arrangement out there.
And
Just
I think-
get all the bits and pieces in line.
Yeah, I think we'd like to understand, if it needs to be rezoned, how we go about that, what the quickest approach to doing that is, how we most quickly solve our water issues and get that taken care of, so.
So as far as the permitted camping, is that going to be something that you are charging people to come and stay there, so will it be a business?
Yep, it will.
Okay.
We actually have that business in place. We have property up Logan Canyon, up there, and we have 2 or 3 small cabins up there that we actually let people come in and they cross-country ski into them and stay in them in the winter. And during the summer, they hike in and stay in them. So they're basically back, there's no power, no water in the cabins. It's a pretty primitive shelter. The same kind of thing people would do with a yurt in the backcountry. So that's what we do up there. So the structure's already in place for doing that kind of thing. But we would want to make sure that however it's zoned, that it'll support that commercial kind of business as well.
And you don't have anything but RVs out there for neighbors.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And cows.
We have RVs out there?
Yes, there are.
Somebody's living over by the mesa there.
Yeah.
We see them coming in and out all the time whenever we're there.
I knew there were people over there, but I'd never really seen a structure. I guess maybe I need to go look.
Yeah, there's 5 RVs out there for you.
There is.
Huh.
I don't go near them because I don't know what kind of people are out there.
I trick or treat on that.
Yeah, but you're scarier than that. Be quiet, Joe. Can I ask one, maybe it's too personal a question. You talked about transferring water rights from one well to the other. Can I ask how that works? I might want to do that someday.
Yeah, so you basically just go to the state and you put it, and there's a specific paper you put in. And the reason we needed to transfer is when we don't have access to the other well, but the other well had collapsed. So we had 30 acre-feet of water on the well that was out in the middle of that big turf farm. And that collapsed while they were pumping it dirt, while they were building the golf course. So we just went to the state engineer, they've got a piece of paper you fill out, the state engineer takes it, fills it out, they look at what all the issues are, they advertise it for a little bit. And
You said transfer, it sounds to me like maybe you're actually having to buy these rights?
No, so there are rights we already owned, but they were from a different point of diversion. So all we're doing is taking and moving the point of diversion and the beneficial use. So originally, all 30 acre feet were for agricultural. And we changed it so we had a little bit of it for residential use and a little bit for livestock and left the rest as agriculture.
I have a question. I thought all wells went through the water board.
Their well's been there before we were created.
Okay.
So if they were just wanting to go out there and start from scratch, we would diligently protest, but he's already got that well there, so, he's kind of grandfathered in, but, you know, we need to be keeping track of the water that's in our aquifer. So, you know, if we protest something, it's not that, you know, we're being weenies about it, you know, it's trying to take care of and manage the water so that we have enough for our future, so. Yeah, that's the only reason that if he was coming to drill it, yeah, Ben watches the newspaper for us for announcements for that people are looking to move, you know, just like with Paul, he's got to put an announcement that he actually moved that, yes, no, you didn't have to do an announcement, yeah, you did. Yeah, you had to do it so that to change that point of diversion, so Ben's good at catching that stuff.
Okay, good.
Now, in fact, when we talked to the engineer about making the change, he initially thought we wanted to go in and drill. And he said, you know, it's gonna be almost impossible to get a permit to drill anything out there. We said, no, we're just looking at a point of diversion change. So. And in our first discussion with the mayor and the subsequent discussion with Harold, I think we really would like to find a solution to this that does what we want to do, but also benefits the city and the water district as much as possible. Because again, we're certainly not going to use 54 acre feet of water anywhere in the near future.
Right. So that was kind of part of the point.
Well, you can put that in the water bank and we'll protect it because it'll be in our usage for a year, and then it's there when you need it.
I still kind of leaning toward planned development zone.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
Which kind of covers.
I think we need to look at it a little bit.
No, I think he was wondering what zone it would most likely fit in.
And since it's already planned BD, it might make sense.
Yeah, I'm thinking that way too.
Mm-hmm.
There's just too many other mixed uses, if we start cutting it up, it's gonna get messy.
Yeah. Because you'd have to subdivide to do this if you didn't put it under the umbrella.
So to do the planned development, you basically would put a development program in place that would talk about, here's what we want to do, and here's how we would time that, and here's how we structure it.
There's a whole list of things that you need to do.
We've got a big ordinance on planned developments, it's 40 pages. So you might look at it, we might look at it.
Yeah, I have looked at it. We actually purchased this property about 2.5 years ago, and so we bought it back before everything started to change, and so we've kind of known that things were really in a changing process over the last year. So we've kind of waited a little bit till things settled out, and we knew what the zoning really looked like.
So we've tried to make things easier,
Yep.
but more commonsensical, so hopefully that'll be in your benefit.
Good.
In a planned development zone, then you could, if you're doing well with your primitive campsites, you can add more.
Yeah.
All right.
Good. Well, we'll just get in touch with you and make sure we get that process in place and get the paperwork started and kind of move forward. We'll
With the water.
Get with the water company.
get you with the water.
I'd get the water all straight before I touch anything.
Yeah, I think, as we've looked at it, I think the biggest hurdle has been how do we manage the water and associated fire protection for the area.
Right.
Because they kind of go hand in hand. So.
Yeah, I don't know what fire department would say about the size of the tank, but it seems to me like you're looking at a big tank.
He said probably 30,000 gallons.
Oh, is that all? Okay.
We also, the other thing, we've actually talked to people in other districts that have done something like this, and there have been people who have put in swimming pools and have access to their swimming pool water so they can pump out for fire protection, which may be an option. We haven't discussed that with him, but as long as they have access to that much water, that's kind of what they need.
So this would forego having a fire hydrant up there.
You would still have to have a hydrant, because they need to have hydrants that are close enough to the structures.
Yeah.
But what they need to do is make sure they can hook onto the hydrants and then have enough water available to pump and pressurize to do what they need to do.
Okay. Well, that sounds good. I like their ship ones.
We've actually worked with this company and seen a couple of the homes built, and they do a really nice job.
We built out here when the county was running the place, and we wanted to build one, and they wouldn't let us.
Yeah, this company's put together it's a nice modular approach. They do all the engineering for you, and so you have engineered plans. It's nice. Great, thank you.
Well, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, so then
So I guess we'll be seeing you later.
yeah, probably.
Yep, we will.
Call if you get questions in the meantime.
We will.
Cynthia's really good with
I
it.
have
Call
like
her.
3 more meetings.
Call Cynthia. Needs more to do.
I'll be call screening, that's what I'll be doing.
Yeah.
All right, so next item is discussion on home occupation definition found in Town Code 10-01010. Yeah, if you wanna.
Yeah, I'd be happy to introduce it. So, this discussion came up recently as to what, the town issues home-based business licenses on a fairly regular basis. I don't know, we probably have somewhere in the realm of 30 to 40 currently, and they renew annually at the end of the year. I came across, and what enables a home-based business to be in existence is within each, the RE zoning, SF, all the residential zoning acres allow home occupation. So as I read through the home occupation definition within the code, there's 2 primary concerns that I have that would impact quite a few of the businesses that are currently in existence in Apple Valley. The first concern that I had is any accessory building or yard space may not be used in association with the home occupation, as well as the lapse line. A home occupation may include emergency consultation, but shall not be for the general practice of any trade or profession. So by that definition, the vast majority of home-based businesses in Apple Valley would be ineligible for
That's kind of a weird sentence at the end.
Yeah.
Well, what is emergency consultation, a seance? or-
My interpretation is if you have an accounting firm down in Hurricane, you could have a home occupation in Apple Valley that, you know, on April 15th, someone could stop by your home and do their taxes.
Oh, okay.
Basically, very infrequent use.
I have a question for you. I have a home business. And I was told I didn't need to pay for license anymore.
Correct.
I didn't mind paying for license to run a home business.
I believe that is more associated with state requirements, that
Okay.
the state doesn't allow revenue collection on home-based businesses.
Oh, okay, because I was paying it for years, so
Yeah.
I was wondering why all of a sudden it changed.
That's a trickle down from the state.
Okay. So I do have state ID, so it's just, for my business.
So I will be issuing, typically renewals come in late November, early December, and so I wanted to tackle this home occupation definition prior to those renewals coming in.
Strike that last sentence.
Yeah, can we just take that last sentence out?
I didn't realize you take it out.
Get rid of that.
That would probably be the simple solution, yeah. So
Yeah.
on today's agenda, we only have the discussion of the definition.
Yeah,
so-
we're not
Yeah,
changing
that
it
sounds like that
officially,
should be
but.
done.
Yeah, we want to put that on the next agenda for action or proposal.
Okay.
Do we have to have a hearing on that?
Yeah,
Okay, so it might not be the next
I guess it
meeting.
would be, yeah.
We're not actually having a meeting on the 13th because that's the night of the election results will be coming through with the town council. So they've actually had to take that night for that. So
But
your
the
next
other one is the
meeting-
Wednesday right before Thanksgiving, isn't it?
So the
It
next
is.
meeting isn't until the 20th.
Oh, okay, so Thanksgiving's the week after. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
The next PC meeting?
Oh, let's see.
No.
No, it would be the 27th actually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I don't know if that's the best.
Yeah, we will.
Yeah.
So that's the night before Thanksgiving. So,
Reschedule or something?
Yeah, I don't think that's the.
Can we have a special date meeting or
yeah, you can schedule a different night.
Yeah.
something for next week or something, just get it out of the way?
So if we just schedule it for the 14-day notice and then,
Yeah.
Yeah, I would do that.
Do you have a certain date that you want to look at, or?
Really, as long as we wrap it up before the end of the year, I can sit on applications that come in, because they don't expire until the 31st. So if we could just do it in December, and then we can hit
So our
town
first
council.
meeting in December possibly?
Okay.
I'm fine with that.
Okay.
So the 13th, they're having a special town council meeting.
Yeah. That is the canvas
So
night
what
for the
you're saying is
election.
we might not have a planning commission meeting for the whole month of November?
So, yeah.
With the lights,
Yeah,
It's the
that's-
night of the canvas, it's required by state law that it's held between 7 days after the election. So there has to be, there's only a 7-day period in which that can happen, and it has to be within that time
Give them
frame.
time to do the absentee and blah, blah.
Yeah, because even after the 5th, they'll still be waiting for absentee ballots and, things like that to come in, so. So-
Are we also thinking that maybe the sentence that mentions shall not involve the use of any accessory building isn't
Yeah.
really necessary in there either?
Yeah. Those were the 2 items that I had been concerned with.
Yeah, let's just take
Yeah.
that sentence out also.
Because it's still protected by saying, you know, it's still gonna be a home-based business, and it's not gonna have traffic, and
Right.
people coming and shopping into your house and all that stuff, so.
Okay.
Janet, do you do yours in an accessory building, or can I ask that?
No, I have a studio.
Okay, okay.
I have a studio downstairs.
I'm trying to think why it would be a problem to allow
Well,
that.
some
Unless
people
for
do.
storage or something, or.
Yeah,
Some people have to, because they have smaller
right,
homes.
right.
I know a couple of glass workers
Now-
out here that are doing it in.
Now, I do like the part where it says, not involve the use of yard space or outside the main building.
Yeah.
In other words, out the yard. Could we somehow leave that in, or? You see what I'm saying?
Then the lorry works in a garage, and so I don't want to see her left out, because her house is too small.
Yeah, what about somebody who's having a garage sale and they do it once a month,
Well,
and they
that's-
do it out in their yard,
Yeah, that's not
You
an
know?
occupation.
so. I think that's a thing for yard sale.
I don't.
I don't know.
So
Well, we can
just take
discuss
off
that in our December meeting,
and leave the rest.
yeah. Okay.
Okay, so
Well-
if we just take off accessory building, it just
Just leave
says,
the rest.
the home occupation shall not involve, the use of yard space or the outside the main building not normally, just take off the accessory.
I like that, because that way you're keeping it residential. If you don't
It's not
put that in there, you're really,
residential.
you've got a business. Oh, don't we have business somewhere else, Ben?
Well, probably with commercial stuff.
Maybe that's what I'm thinking. Probably just with commercial.
And Airbnb.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a different chapter.
Different deal, okay. I was thinking it was something a little more residential.
So we'll do a hearing for this, I guess, on.
Yeah, it looks like the 11th of December.
Okay.
And home businesses need to be inspected by the fire marshal. Also. Sandy came and looked at mine a couple of times, because I can deal with fire.
Might not be a bad thing to do. I don't know.
Okay. So then, the next item on the agenda is to approve the minutes for 9/11/2019.
I make a motion that we approve the minutes for 11/19.
Second?
Vote.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Alright.
Then all that's left is
I make a motion to adjourn.
Second?
vote.
Aye.
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 Alright.
Aye. Woo! Adjourned.
Oh, yeah.